Got it. So we're live. We're going to be live in a few minutes. We're live already, though. I'll just put this here. So welcome, everybody. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And listen, I am super excited about this particular episode. So a few weeks ago, social media was abuzz with a story that because the Moroccan footballer Achraf Hakimi's mother was the sole beneficiary of all that he earned, he had nothing to offer his wife after she filed for a divorce and wanted half of his fortune. She wanted half because she believed that she was instrumental to his success, having been with him for about 5 years. And it's been a controversial topic, and people have many opinions about the matter. And today on Ibi Speaks, we will talk about the legal implications of Hakimi's Act, the legal implications of having your assets and earnings in someone else's name. And we will teach you how to grow and protect your assets, including your ideas. So hello, everyone, and welcome to Ibi Speaks. My name is Ibinabo Enebi, and I am your host. And I want to thank all of my viewers and all of my subscribers for joining us today. And I want to thank everyone who's joining us on Facebook, on my Facebook page, on my Facebook profile, and on my YouTube. I am excited that you're joining us today, and I know that you're going to learn a lot. And if you're a first-time viewer, and hey, first-time viewers, hello, and you are wondering what this show is about, I will tell you. Ibi Speaks is a knowledge base of information, or rather it's a knowledge-based platform on information that feature experts and thought leaders and everyday people like you and me who share their stories and their expertise with the purpose of enlightening, encouraging, and motivating you to make better and intentional decisions for your life. And like I always say, I feel that their stories will serve as streetlights and survival kits for those coming behind us. And my special guests today are Abimbola Komolafe and Mr. Michael Ogobuchi. Welcome, guys. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Perfect. And thank you. And I failed to let my viewers know that this episode is another installment of the Avoiding the Later Life Crisis series. I've had a ton of this series. I started it since last year. I have talked about so many things. I talk about planning your finances. I mean, again, this is a different flavor to that. I talked about arranging your affairs, the importance of having your will. I talked about understanding your purpose. Listen, there's so much, and I think that you should just take a look at it. Go on my YouTube channel, Ibinabo Enebi, and have a look. And I promise you that you're going to learn a lot. So before we go into this conversation proper, I would like to introduce my guests, or rather tell you a little bit about my guests. So my first speaker is Mrs. Abimbola Komolafe. She is a finance professional with over 30 years of experience in various sectors, which includes banking, oil and gas, and consulting. She is a certified in financial education instructor and a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria and the Chartered Accountant of Nigeria, ICAN. She has a passion to help people achieve financial freedom and grow their wealth. This led to the creation of the Finance Coach Bootcamp, is it BK platform?
BK,
Yeah, which she uses to educate and offer financial literacy support to help individuals grow their wealth and attain financial freedom. And today she will teach you the principles of wealth creation and the course of action you can take today to help you grow your wealth. Welcome, Bimbo, to Ibi Speaks.
Thank you very much, Abimbola, for having me. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. And my second guest is Michael Ogobuchi, Esquire. He is a barrister and a solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. He was trained at the Ebonyi State University and attended the Nigerian Law School. He is the managing partner of the Michael's Attorney and the founder of Free Zone Legal Service in Nigeria called FLAS. He will share insights on the importance of protecting your assets with proper documentation. And I also want to add that he's also going to tell us how to protect our ideas. We're going to talk more about that, Michael, won't we?
Of course.
Michael, welcome to Ibi Speaks.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. And guys, my audience, feel free. You can be a part of this conversation by leaving your comments and your questions. If you're watching via YouTube, in the comment section. If you're watching via Zoom, in the comment section. If you're watching via Facebook, in the comment sections, and my guests will would answer your questions. So before we delve into the conversation proper, I want to start with you, Bimbo. You know, we have doctors, we have lawyers, we have architects, we have teachers and engineers, and you are a financial fitness instructor, you're a consultant, you're a financial education instructor. And so people who could be wondering, what exactly is a financial education instructor and why do we need them?
Thank you, Binabo. And, I've always thought of myself as a finance coach. I call myself many things, but I've never called myself a financial fitness instructor. And I like the sound of it because we do have the physical fitness instructors. So yes, thank you very much, Binabo. Your platform, I said I would start my conversation this evening by commending you, the effort. I've watched a few of your past videos and I see a lot of work that you're doing with your platform. And so it's commendable. And I say, well done. And thank you for having me this evening. Now, what does a finance coach do? A financial fitness instructor, like you say. We teach you how to master your money, how to be in control of your money, how to manage your money, and not your money being in control of you. There's so many aspects of this, and the word you used is very right, financial fitness. And there are very many elements of financial fitness. There's so many things involved. You need skills like budgeting skills, monitoring your expenses, tracking your expenses, tax management and control, preserving your wealth, which comes to writing your will and all of that. And even looking into the future, retirement planning, all of that comes into financial fitness. There's so many elements of financial fitness. Now, your question is, why do you need a financial education instructor or a finance coach to help you walk the walk of financial freedom, or wealth creation, or wealth generation? We are all experts in different areas. And you started rightly by quoting the different professions that are available. So a finance coach or a financial education instructor has the expertise to handhold you, and help you walk, W-A-L-K, and work, W-O-R-K, towards wealth creation and financial freedom. Financial freedom, I always, the campaign that my platform is carrying out is that every one of us, as many people as possible, must have financial freedom and financial independence. And, because we're Africans, I know majority of us around the call are Africans. We know there's a lot of financial dependency, in our culture. And sometimes it's not because we've necessarily been born poor. It's because we don't have the education to move away from the poverty that we've been born into. Sometimes I like to tweet and share it. I say, it's not your fault if you're born poor, but if you die poor, then it's your fault. Okay, you don't have a choice, the family that you're born into. You don't have a choice if you're born, with a golden, wooden, or plastic spoon in your mouth. Okay, nobody chose the families they were born into, so you don't have a choice. But you do have a choice to remain at the level, of your family, or you want to grow your wealth and be superior or improve things for your family. So in short words, a few words, that's why we all need a finance coach. We're not experts. I am a finance coach, Ibinabo, but when I want to take investment decisions, I go to investment gurus. I speak to an investment person to help me with my investment decisions. Did I answer your question?
Fantastic. And thank you very much for that insight. You've now, who's that now? And so you spelled out exactly. Okay, read this. Thank you.
We need somebody to mute.
Yeah, I have, it's muted. So we have talked about, and I was a bit distracted now with the noise.
Financial fitness and the
yes,
need
we've talked
for a
about
coach.
Exactly. So we've talked about the reason why we need a financial coach to help us, to make proper financial decisions. And let's just jump right into this whole context of growing our wealth. On my program today, I have is a broad spectrum. We have young people listening. We have middle-aged people listening. We have people that are starting their families also listening. So just briefly, what financial advice would you give to people in those phases of their lives? How can we build our finances if we are just starting out in life, or we're in the middle of paying children's school fees and then we're retired?
Thank you, Binabo. I understand your question. Your question is, how can anyone, irrespective of their age band,
Exactly.
build wealth, right?
Exactly.
So irrespective of their age band, right?
Yes.
You're a young graduate, just leaving school, you're middle age, just starting your family, mid-level at your place of work, or you are executive or at executive level, looking into retirement or already retired. And I know you have only 90 minutes, but I have to put this in here quickly. And so I have a friend around the call, and when we ask for our ages, we say, when you're 56, he says at 56, you are looking at 60 and backing 50. And if you're 54, you are backing 50 and you're looking at 60. Or did I swing it the other way? So irrespective of your age bracket, if you are mid-level or if you're executive level, one day you would retire. If you just started working, you would still get to the place where you need to build your wealth and plan for sending your children to school. So quickly, how do we build wealth? It doesn't matter the level or the season of life that we're in. There are certain things that are important, at least in the way the people I've been working with, I see it cutting across. Financial education is very key. The education we get in school is not the same as financial education. And I want people to understand that you have to be deliberate about understanding how money works. You have to be intentional in understanding how money works. If you just live in school, if you don't pick up learning and understanding how money works, by the time you get to trying to have your first home and all of that, you're already losing the advantage that you would have picked if you started early. So there are 5 key things I want to talk about. Financial education, very key. Things like this that you're doing, Ibinabo, people should key in as much as possible. And the funny thing, platforms like this offer this education for free. And I always say, you will gain something, even if it's one word. I'm looking forward to gaining from Michael this evening. I have a solicitor I've been working with for over 10 years, but I also need to be knowledgeable so that when I'm talking to her, if she's steering me in a particular way, I'm informed enough to take the decision based with some level of understanding. So financial education is key. We also all need to be intentional and deliberate. We don't want to wait till we're 55 to begin to say, oh, I should have known this all along. And then there's also something I always say to people, that no matter how much you learn, how much financial education that you get, if you don't take action, things won't change. Now, you've asked me, how can we build wealth? And I'm still going to come to the 3 key building blocks of wealth creation. But I think that these principles are things that everyone, no matter your age band, you should understand and apply. So financial education is key. Understanding how money works, understanding how you can avoid money mistakes, and the things you need to do, very key. And then you must be intentional and deliberate. Wealth creation doesn't happen by chance. Even if you inherit it, if you inherit a lot of money, you're going to lose it if you're not deliberate and intentional about preserving it. Okay, so we need to take action, and we must take action timely as well. Must take action on time. And then we must learn to walk. I keep saying it, W-A-L-K and W-O-R-K. We must learn to walk and work with professionals. Sometimes you may need to pay money. Sometimes you don't have to pay money. Okay, sometimes you may need to pay money. Sometimes you may not need to pay money, but make sure that you work with a professional. I gave the example earlier on. Excuse me. I don't invest without talking to investment professionals because I don't want to make mistakes. Abimbola said I'm an accountant and I'm a banker, but I'm also very careful to make sure that I still run things, through experts. Then if you want to grow your wealth, the 5th one that I want everybody to understand is that you must have financial targets. You must have something that you're working towards. As you're leaving school, you must tell yourself. I have people that I mentor that have said to themselves, that have said to me that I'm going to work for an employer for 5 years. And after 5 years, I'm not going to work for any employer. I'm going to work for myself. Those are financial targets. And so such people that I mentor will take every step and every decision to make sure that they don't remain in paid employment beyond the 5 years that they've set for themselves. Okay? So every one of us around the call, in order for us to create wealth, in order for us to have more money, in order for us to be as wealthy as God has proposed for every one of us, we must have financial targets. And it's in the financial targets that you will then have the financial plans to achieve your financial targets. Okay? Your financial targets, I'm still working with the illustration of someone who says, I don't want to work for an employer beyond 5 years. Okay, so your financial plan in order to achieve that financial target may include you taking a loan, may include you raising seed capital for the business you want to start. Okay, so you would have your plan, and your plan is what will help you. Your financial plan is what will help you achieve your financial target. So 5 things. Okay, we must be financially educated. We must be intentional and deliberate. Don't wait till you're looking at retirement, like my friend will say. At 56, you're facing 60. Don't wait till you're 56, facing 60 to begin to take investment decisions. And please, I know Abimbola said it offline earlier on. It doesn't matter how late you want to start building your wealth, just start. But I'm just saying that the earlier you start building, the better. So I'm not saying that you're 56 or you're 65 and you haven't done the things that you should do before now, so it's too late. No, I'm just saying that it's easier if you start earlier. So financial education is key. It's important to be intentional and deliberate. You must take action and take it now. So if you haven't been taking the right actions, begin to take the right actions now. Work with a professional. Don't take it for granted. I keep saying to people, I'm shouting it all over my social media pages. I offer free support. If I can't support you, I would send you to people that can help you. So why would you sit and not take support? Financial targets and plans, we said that. And then we say, you just must start now. Can I take a break, Abimbola, while you ask another question, or do you want me to talk more about how we can grow wealth?
Fantastic. Listen, I was just writing as we were talking. I'm taking notes as well. I think that what I hear you say is the importance of taking action, being financially educated, having a financial plan, and working with an expert. And I'm delighted to hear now that you also provide free financial services.
Absolutely. I offer help.
Help.
I offer help, yeah.
Fantastic.
One of my mentees, you have to cut me short, Abimbola, because I talk a lot and I like to share as much as possible.
That's the passion. But quickly, because I know that we have, well, I want to be able to manage our time because it's quality. We have quality conversation going on. Bimbo.
Yes.
Bimbo, let me not call you like Bimbo. Is it possible? Now, before I ask you this question, I want to ask, some people, have built wealth over the years. They've bought properties, they've had assets, they've done the traditional wealth creation things. They have stocks, they have bonds, they have properties, they have land. And then the life goes on. And sometimes in order to fulfill certain financial obligations, like sending the children to school and stuff like that, people sell their properties, they sell stock, they sell things. So in that instance, somebody had done quite a lot, but they needed the money to do what they want to do. And at old age, they really don't now have the resources, investments. What would you say to somebody like that?
So, that's where the issue of starting early, working at financial fitness matters. Okay, that's where it brings out the importance of starting your financial fitness journey early.
But some people start early. But I'm saying that, especially with the economy in Nigeria, where people have had to sell what they had.
Let me continue.
Okay.
So selling, when you have an investment portfolio, it doesn't mean that it's static, okay? I do have a friend who retired as comfortably as possible, but before retirement, she used to say to me that she has what she calls VEX plan, VEX money, and she would say the house in this town, this building in this town is to pay child exit school fees. This house in Lagos is child Y school fees. So mental retirement plan or fallback plan, like you're saying. There's nothing wrong if you have to sell a property to meet liquidity requirements in the in the temporary situation. Okay, I don't know if your question is, are they at fault or how?
No, they're not at fault. They're not at fault.
What's your question really?
My question is, if somebody at the tail end of their lives have sold investments, sold things to make money, to generate funds for their children, is there anything they can do at that stage to try to generate, to grow wealth or something?
You can grow wealth at any point in time.
So what can they do?
They can do every single thing that you and I can do. It doesn't matter the age band. They can start investing in the three markets. There are three markets.
Okay.
The money market, the capital market, the real estate market. No, there's no cap or limitation to when you can stop investing or when you can start investing. Okay, anybody can invest. I know people who are already investing in the names of the children. Okay, I know a family also, at every child's birthday, the family buys shares for that child. With the knowledge of the child now knows, okay, there's an investment being built up for you. So you can build wealth at any stage. And I think she's over 75. She's a member of the Finance Coach BK community. And I think I even brought her once to tell us about her experience. She's living so comfortably in retirement from passive income that she's making from investment in the stock market. So you can invest at any point. I just wanted to bring out that if you find yourself on that unexpected money squeeze and you need to sell a house, it's not a sin, it's not a crime. You sell the house, you recover, but you make sure that you don't sell your house under or sale, because you then sell your house at less than the value. So the question you have asked is, I would say, double-edged, if you allow me to speak to it that way. So people who don't plan ahead for liquidity requirements, can suddenly find themselves having to sell property to meet their, monetary needs. Okay, but I also know that some people deliberately invest in stock, invest in houses, because they are looking at building that, having that asset build up in value towards meeting a need down the road. The example I gave to you.
That's like the land banking and things like that.
Yeah. So okay. You can recover. You can recover, and then it depends on how you look at it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Bimbo. I still have a few questions to ask you, but I want to quickly jump to Michael. Michael, thank you so much for being patient. And I just want to quickly just jump into this. So social media was a buzz with Hakimi's feat that he performed, all of his earnings were, let me put it like this. So all of his earnings were directed to his mother. His mother was the sole beneficiary of all his earnings. So he had nothing in his name. And so when his wife filed for a divorce and wanted half of his property or half of what he had, there was nothing for him to give her. There are so many questions in this. So many. We can stretch this conversation to a lot of things. But I want to ask you, is it even legal for somebody to do that? Is it wise for somebody to make somebody else the sole beneficiaries of their earnings when they're still alive?
Okay, let me start by, because your question is kind of double barrel.
Yes, it is. Is it
legal?
legal? What Hakimi did, is it legal? And I know that I don't want us to really stretch too much in that legal aspect, but I just want us, because people are like, hey, yes,
Yes.
That's
So
one.
The second barrel of the question is it wise?
Is it wise? Yeah.
Why? Okay, let me start by saying that. Let me start by asking, is it possible? The Hakimi's case, is it possible in the first place?
Tell me, is it possible?
That's the first question. In the first place, yes. Hakimi, as a person, has lived in about 3 European countries where such an act is considered a criminal offense. Such an act is considered a criminal offense. And I believe Hakimi, as a person, is rich enough to afford the services of a good lawyer. So the question is that possible, or is it just a social media tale that is unverified? That, by the way, let me come to your question. Is it legal? Okay, I can see we have audience across various countries, so I don't want to limit it to the Nigerian jurisprudence or Nigerian legal jurisdiction. Let me talk about what's obtainable in the US and the UK and Canada also. In the US, there's what we call discovery. Discovery is a legal process that is done or undertaken before divorce commences proper in the US. Now, the process involves spouses that are going into divorce or undergoing divorce proceedings, disclosing every single information about their wealth to their partner. Of course, at that point, the individual partners already have their lawyer. So it is a criminal offense for a spouse who is undergoing divorce proceedings across Europe to conceal any asset, either by transferring to anybody or dealing with it in any way at all. In some states in the US, what they do is that if you conceal any wealth at the point of discovery or during the discovery proceeding, what they do in the US is that once that wealth is discovered, it doesn't matter in anybody's name it has been placed. The court will order you to pay the other spouse half of that wealth discovered. Then, of course, you know how complex the US is. In some states in the US, it's a criminal offense that even exposes you to the possibility of going to jail. Then when you come to the UK, there's a divorce proceeding that we call consent order. The same thing with what's applicable in the US. It's a proceeding during which couples that are undergoing divorce proceedings will have to disclose all their wealth. Are you getting the point? Same applies to Nigeria with slight difference. So it is not legally obtainable. It is not legally possible for that to even take place in the first place. I don't know if you are
I am. I'm listening. I am. So I'm wondering. So is it really true, or is just a social media brouhaha?
So if you understand this legal explanation I've given, then that takes you to the question whether is it possible for that to have taken place? Is it really true? So now you ask me if it is wise.
Yes. Is it
very,
wise?
very safe. If something is unsafe, then the thing is automatically unwise. For example, if you name or if you transfer your wealth to some other person as a way of securing the wealth, it's just like shooting yourself in the leg because you stand a bigger risk of losing the wealth. Because the truth is that you are at the mercy of the transferee. We call them transferee. Let me give an example of a client I had in the past. A client met me some years ago, and he was into partnership with somebody. So while the partnership was ongoing, he was saving part of the money, of the proceeds, with somebody else, without the knowledge of the wife. So at the closure of the partnership, I'm telling you an encounter I've had while acting as a lawyer for somebody. So at the close of the partnership, he demanded for his money. The transferee said, the money you gave me is a payment for a service I rendered. The guy was like, what service are you talking about? To his utmost surprise, the guy doctored some documents, generated some documents to prove that he actually rendered services to him. And the monies he paid to him were actually monies he paid as fees for those services. So I was in a very tight corner as to how to go about that, because when he sent those money to him, there was no description showing that these monies were being given to this guy to hold for him. Are you getting my point?
I'm listening.
So that
yeah.
is very, very unsafe. I can go on and on to tell you examples I've encountered in this regard. So there are several other ways you can actually secure your money, but transferring the money to somebody else, it is not safe at all. And no lawyer can advise a client to do that. Now let me explain a few things. You know, okay, maybe you may come to that direction later, but I just want to pray like, you know, when you talk about securing your assets, yeah, it is in two phases.
Yeah.
Securing your assets for safety, that is one. When I mean safety, I mean perpetual safety. That is one. Then secondly, securing your assets in anticipation of litigation. That is what happened in the case of Akim, if it actually took place in the first place.
Okay.
But I will come to that in the course of this our discussion. But let me stop here for now. As to whether it was wise or legal for Akim to have done that, it is not. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that insight now. And listen, for my viewers, please feel free to leave your comments and your questions, and my guests would answer them. Just quickly, I want to just read out some comment here. Someone says here, take action on time. And another person says here, my humble opinion as regards Ibinabo's question is that if a parent has to sell off his property to send a child to school, that in itself is another form of investment. That parent has not lost anything. Rather, one investment has been converted into another form. I humbly stand to be corrected. Thank you very much. Now, the other side of the Hakimi drill is that the wife wanted half of his properties because he had been with him. They had been together for 5 years. And so I would ask this. A lot of women, and this happens to us as women, as business partners, sometimes you contribute to your husband's wealth growth, or even just as somebody who is maybe in partnership with someone in business. So you give ideas, and you may not necessarily be, you may not necessarily give financial support, but you give the ideas that help the other person to grow the business, and then the business becomes successful. And then something happens, and the other person, or maybe there's a divorce, or there's a break in partnership, and then the other person who was the one that actually ran with the idea now says, oh no, what have you done for me lately? You didn't do anything for me. How would the person who came up with the initial idea benefit or protect themselves for that kind of a thing happening in future?
Okay. This question is more situated in the African setting.
Okay.
Reason being that as a wife in several European countries, American countries, it is a condition precedent that during divorce proceedings, spouses will disclose their wealth, and the court will decide how the wealth will be distributed between the couple at the point of divorce. So that is why I want to bring this question down to the African setting, where that is not possible in our jurisdiction. So for you to be entitled to the wealth of a man as a woman at the point of divorcing the person, you have to be intentional from the beginning. I'm not advising you to start preparing for divorce immediately after you are married. No, that is not what I'm advising you. I'm advising you that in a jurisdiction like ours, where you are not automatically entitled to a percentage of your husband's wealth at the point of the divorce, because that is not provided for in our Matrimonial Causes Act, it's not provided for in our Marriage Act, there's no provision for that in our Matrimonial Causes rules. So you have to be intentional about that. The law is simple. The law is that for you, aside maintenance of children, which a man must pay, for you to be entitled to a particular percentage of the man's wealth, you must prove substantial contribution. That's important. It is not just contribution, substantial contribution. So what qualifies as substantial contribution? It is a degree of material or intellectual contribution.
Okay.
You must be able to prove to the court that you have either participated materially, either in acquiring properties, or that you have participated intellectually in giving ideas that generated either wholly or partly some form of income or some form of improvement to that business. How do you do that? One, don't limit yourself to all those bedroom encouragement and prayer. No. I'm telling you the fact. Yes, that's why I said from the beginning that you have to be intentional as a woman from the beginning. Try to find a way to contribute something, even if, one, you are saving, you are contributing from the money you have received from your husband in any way. And when you are doing that, let there be a deliberate documentation. Like I said earlier, I'm not advising ladies to prepare for divorce from the beginning of the marriage. No. But it's something that can happen anytime. Try to generate written communications, generate email correspondence, generate WhatsApp communication, and make sure that one way or the other, this your advice or this your contribution that you are making is something that can be proven. In our Evidence Act in Nigeria, for example, documentary evidence or electronic generated evidence are acceptable in court as evidence now.
Including WhatsApp, yeah?
WhatsApp chat, yes. Screenshots of
Okay.
WhatsApp chat, voice notes that are born, if you can burn your voice notes into a flash, are you getting the point? So
Yeah.
you can record a lot of things. I am somehow an expert in matrimonial causes. We've been able to prove certain allegations through WhatsApp screenshots, through SMS screenshots, through email conversation. like I was saying the other time, we've had a situation whereby a woman actually contributed. There was a case we did, a popular case. I wouldn't want to mention it online because of duty I owe the client a duty of confidentiality as a professional. But I'll just say it in passing. Actually, the woman contributed immensely to the wealth of the man, but there was no trace of her contribution. It was very difficult for us to establish her contribution. But truly, when we had the frank conversation with the lawyer on the other side, there were actually contributions that were made. So what we were able to achieve was that at the end of before the matter went into trial, we were able to agree on some terms of settlement. Subsequent to which we filed a memorandum of settlement, and of course, the man, not being a callous person, knew that actually this woman contributed substantially to this thing, and of course agreed to pay some percentage. But what if you mean sincerity? So I advise ladies to be deliberate from the beginning. If you are making any contribution to your husband's wealth, be deliberate, especially if you are in Nigerian jurisdiction, where you are not automatically entitled to some certain percentage of money from your husband by virtue of just marrying him. You have to be deliberate. Generate conversations in written form. If you are sending money, describe it. Are you getting the point? If you are suggesting something, just make it a bit common, right? Put it in writing. Because the law is that any idea you give, which at the time you are not married to the man, you would have been paid for that. That, in the face of law, is a crime. So for you to prove that, you must have documentations to that effect. Otherwise, in Nigerian jurisdiction, there is nothing for you.
Fantastic. So, I'm still going to go back to married.
I don't know if that applies to question.
Yes, it does. I'm still going to go back to married people, right? So there are some times when, you said something where even if the money that you used to invest in the man's business was money given to you by the man, is that still your money?
Yes, that's your money. That is your money.
Even if he's the one that gave you the money.
Yes, for example, let's assume your husband gave you money to go for shopping. And you decide, that is your money. And you decide to reinvest it back to his business. Are you getting the point? If you decide to reinvest it back to the business, that in the eyes of the law qualifies as contribution. So during divorce proceedings, the court will evaluate the extent of your contribution and determine whether or not it qualifies as substantial contribution. If that is done, then the court will order that a certain percentage of the money be paid to you. Yes, that's obtainable in Nigerian jurisdiction.
Fantastic. I'll come back to you, Michael, but I want to ask Bimbo a few more questions. Bimbo, thank you very much for the insights that you gave us about the importance of growing wealth. Now, I want us to talk about types of investment. Some people, you've talked about the importance of growing wealth, take action and stuff like that, the importance of working with a financial professional. But then just sitting and somebody is here wanting to know, okay, so before I even talk to a financial expert or stuff like that, what are the things that are out there that I can begin to even think about? What are the types of investments? Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you would give me some time down the road to pass a few comments about what Michael has said.
You can start by commenting about what Michael has said and then answer the question.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Michael, for the detailed explanation and warning. But because I know I do have a few of my friends around the call, and I just want all of us to understand that it's not only the woman that needs to be protected in a relationship when it comes to money. And so because sometimes I have a son, so sometimes, the men also, not sometimes, the men also should look for ways to protect themselves. And if we put aside Christianity, which assumes faithfulness, assumes eternity, and love for selfless love for one another in terms of marriages. Michael kept on saying he's not saying there's going to be divorce. So if we put aside the Christian faith, which is what I understand, which assumes there won't be any problem. If we put that aside, it means that because we are human, every man and woman should always take decisions to protect themselves when investing. And honestly, at the risk of oversimplifying things the way, what we're discussing this evening, I have a friend, she's also around the call. She always says, shine your eyes. And then she also always says that when you're crying, you should see through the tears. And so if from the beginning, you've asked me now what investment opportunities are available for people who want to grow their wealth. It's very simple. It's either you invest in the money market, the capital market, or real estate market. For goodness sake, if you and your husband or you and your partner are going to buy shares, you have a name. I am Abimbola Komolafe, okay? And if my spouse has his name. So if we're buying or investing in shares in stock market together, those two names must be on the asset. If it's money market investment that we're putting and we say we're doing it together, it must be there. Okay, real estate, especially if you buy land and you're building and you're constructing, somebody is bringing the money to buy the cement and all of that, which is what we do mostly back home, not all the time that you see people buying houses that have been built. So there may be a little bit of the risk of the money that you use to buy and all of that, buy the building and construction materials. But it's not difficult. And, I started by saying we need to be intentional and deliberate about the things that we do, the choices that we make. And thank God, Michael also said it, okay? He was speaking to the women and saying from the beginning, be intentional and deliberate to protect yourself. I'm just adding to what Michael has said, and I'm saying the men also, because I wouldn't want my son to build his wealth. I'm imagining that Hakimi is my son, okay? And I've told you before now, the conversation is very wide. I'm not taking sides, and I don't know the legal issues around the case. But if you're married to somebody for 5 years, and from the beginning of the marriage, you're targeting to take 50% down the road, that in itself is fraud. Anyway, it's subject to discussion. So I just wanted to add that men also need to be protected, and women, just like Marisa Michael has taught us this evening, women can be deliberate about documentation from the beginning. But I'm saying that men also must be deliberate with documentation from the beginning. And let's assume that couples are going to be 100 years in marriage. They're going to live till death parts them. But be intentional. And it's not only about divorce alone. Sometimes you want to take a facility, you want to take a loan, and the asset is in the name of one person. And you can't take the loan because even though the asset is in your name, you cannot use it to do what you want to do. So it's not only about separation all the time. The advantages that can come to you along the way. If, for example, you want to take a facility and you want to establish your net worth. If you have an understanding that assets are for both of you, but they are in one person's name, before the law, it remains in the name of that person, and you won't have access to the facility that you want to borrow. So, even about the question you asked me, what are the investment options available for people who want to grow their wealth? There are three main markets. And I know that it's not everybody that will have access to be able to buy into the real estate market immediately. But again, we talked about financial targets earlier on. And so financial targets is looking into the future and saying, this is where I want to get to. This is what I want to achieve by this age and by this time. So everyone around the call who wants to grow their wealth and who wants to create wealth must invest in three markets. The money market, okay? That's fixed deposits, treasury bills, bonds, and then capital markets, you can buy shares, and then the real estate market. Those are three markets that everybody who wants to invest must target. Now, not everyone around the call, like Ibinabo started off, we're in at different stages of our lives, we're in different seasons of life. I can see some of my mentees who, who have just under 10 years of work experience. I can see people who have about 15 years of work experience, and I can see people who are looking to 60 and back in 50 around the corner, and even people above 65. So you may be a low income earner. What are the investment opportunities available for you? Stocks. With as little as 15,000 or 10,000, you can begin to invest in Nigerian stocks. And with as little as $100, you can begin to invest in foreign stocks. So any low income is not an excuse. To be honest, anybody who is not growing wealth is just making excuses. It's not a function of the economy. Abimbola asked earlier on and said, offline, saying today's economy and everything. Things may be bad, but it's not an excuse for anybody not to invest. You just have to be disciplined. Fixed income, bank placements, federal government of Nigerian bonds, you can start investing from as little as 10,000 naira. You can invest in Naira mutual funds. You can also invest in dollar mutual funds. Those are things that low income earners can invest in. Now, if God has blessed you so much and you have a lot of money, you can also invest in the capital market. Okay, you can invest in commercial papers, which is where banks, syndicate money funds for businesses who need short-term liquidity. They usually come with high interest rates, but I always want people to be careful which company the commercial papers that banks are offering are backing up, because the integrity of the companies matter. That's how you'll be sure to get your money back. Treasury bills, you can invest as much as you want in treasury bills. If you're a high income earner, millions and all of that. I think the minimum is 50 million actually, if you want to invest directly in treasury bills, in treasury bills with the Central Bank of Nigeria. Federal government of Nigeria bonds, there's no limit. Euro bonds, you need at least minimum of $200,000, but you can also invest in blocks of $50,000. You can also invest lower. If the bank or the financial institution you're dealing with syndicates low income earners together, you can invest. There are also dollar mutual funds. And then, of course, we talked about money market and real estate, of course. Real estate, you can buy land, you can buy houses, you can build, you can also buy shares in companies that are into real estate. So I think just to summarize, okay, those are the investment options that are available. Of course, there are alternative assets like crypto. I always say to people, don't invest in crypto if you don't have the energy to study and understand how it goes. You can farm, okay? Farming is also an investment outlet, okay? Most of us have grandparents who have land in villages that can be, cultured into creating income and giving us money. Commodity trading, there's some alternative assets that we can invest in. I always say to people, if you're not investing, it's because you're not ready. It's not because of what you're earning, it's because you're not ready. Abimbola.
Fantastic. I didn't stop you because I'm also learning myself. I'm just writing down stuff. So thank you very much for that. Now, I hope that this is not a repetition, but so how can parents grow generational wealth for their children? Bless you.
Thank you. So maybe the first question is, what is generational wealth?
Yes, what's generational wealth?
So the first question is, what's generational wealth? So generational wealth is wealth that you create for people coming behind you. Okay? So if Abimbola wants to create generational wealth, it means Abimbola wants to have money in the now and leave enough money not only for her children, or her grandchildren and her great-great-grandchildren. So generational wealth is wealth created and made available for family and generations coming after you. Now, how do you do that? You cannot leave money for people if you don't have enough. So the first thing is to focus on financial fitness. And I have a new title today, Abimbola. I'm so happy. Financial Fitness Instructor. Thank you. So you make
I read
money.
It somewhere. I thought I read it somewhere that you're a financial fitness instructor. But really, yeah. A fitness instructor. Yeah, instructor.
Yeah,
so you have to, so copyright, where is that making money from? That is my idea.
Don't worry. I'll carry you along. So you make money, you save money, you invest it, and you protect it. You make money, I'll say it again, you save it, you invest it, and you protect it. Building up generational wealth is not different from, the creation of the wealth that, we spoke about earlier on. Okay. I had said from the beginning that financial education is key. I'm going to repeat it now. If you want to leave money for people coming after you, as soon as you see that people coming after you are old enough to be financially educated, begin to introduce them to financial education so that the wealth that you are creating and that you're making can be preserved and protected. Now, creating generational wealth again. One thing that is very important is that when you have created your wealth, it's important that you leave clear and distinct instructions for how you want that your wealth and your assets to be distributed. I know Barrister Mike understands what I'm talking about. If you make a lot of money, okay, I'll use my father as an example. So when my father died, he had assets and he owned certain things. But because he died intestate, the government took a portion of the money before my sisters and I even had access to it. So if you want to make and leave your wealth for the generations coming after you, the first thing to do is to make sure, after making sure that your people are financially educated so that they don't waste what you've created, you must make sure that you have, clear instructions. You can make a will, and wills don't make people die. I say to people, they kill. We know they kill person. It just means that you're smart, okay? If you die in interstate means that the wealth that you have managed to build will first of all be slashed. So you're not even, what are you building? Just like telling me now that Otedola does not have a will. God forbid, when the time comes and the man is 200 years old, the government will take a big percentage of it and DJ copy. Even though you say enough is enough, they will not have as much as they should have. I'm just making light of the tip I'm trying to put out here. We must protect the wealth that we're building. Now, protecting the wealth you're building is to make sure that you don't even lose any part of what you're growing, okay? And make sure that your people who will inherit understand financial education. And you must also make a will. And if you don't make a will, a trust fund, just so that your wealth is protected and distributed the way that you want it to be. And if you're making money or growing wealth or creating wealth through a business, it's also important to put a succession plan in place. Don't be the alpha and omega of your thriving business. Don't be the only one that has the password to the bank accounts and be the only signatory of the account. So there are so many things to do, but I think these are the few things that I want to put on the table about growing generational wealth and preserving it for the people coming behind. Did I answer your question?
You did, of course. Thank you. And guys, listen, if you have any questions and you have any comments, if you're watching on Facebook, please feel free to leave your comments in the comment section. If you're watching via YouTube, please feel free to leave your comments in the comment section. I have a few comments here that I want to read out, and then I would ask Michael the questions that I have to ask him. So first and foremost, someone says here, one cannot get any relief from the court except same is proved by evidence. Be intentional. Reduce every agreement into writing. Your emails, your letters, and WhatsApp conversations are admissible as evidence in court. Keep the originals. This is not for only ladies. This is also applicable to both men and women. And somebody else says here, when my wife, founded her business, and this is a quotation, I immediately asked to invest. She said no. From the beginning, Tara had a clear vision that she didn't want to compromise on if she didn't need her. And I highly respect that. As soon as you give somebody equity in a business, they get a say on how things are done. In any marriage, the instinct is to jump in and help as much as you can. But the important thing is that this is her journey. I give advice, but she doesn't need to take it. And somebody else says here, as an addendum to my first comment, as parents, we should ask ourselves what we can do for our children and not what our children can do for us. If my child has good education, it might be more profitable than leaving that child a house. Now, Michael, And I want to say thank you very much for that question, for those contributions. Now, Michael, I have this question to ask you. Guys, please bear with me. I want to quickly jump into my file to just get this question. So, Michael, how can spouses and civil partners jointly and safely build their wealth?
Okay, Ibinabo, I must first of all appreciate Bimbo for striking the balance that he struck. Yes, protection is not a one-sided necessity. I must say, though I'm trying to, so that I don't limit me to spousal wealth protection, because I'm actually looking at educating our audience on how to protect their wealth, whether they are married or not. Because I believe we have bachelors, widows.
Excellent, yes.
Yes,
we also have youth, children who are also making investments, who are well to do. So I would also like to have the opportunity to educate them on how to protect their wealth.
Oh, Michael, Reverend fathers who won't marry.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But before I go to that, I hope you ask me questions that touches on that. But before I go to that, let me just answer the question you just asked now. Protection of wealth it's not just necessary, it is expedient. In the sense that nobody knows when he or she will die. And thank you, Abimbola, you mentioned the issue of will. Let me tell you the truth. I have some clients whose children follow me everywhere I go, asking me if their father has a will. Yes, they are begging me to tell them if their father, because they know I'm their father's lawyer. So they want to know if their father has a will. They all want to know their stake. What would they benefit if their father died? Are you getting the point? But let me just quickly, I'll come to that later when I talk about how to protect your wealth generally. But let me just go straight to your question. I normally advise couples that come to me, if you come to me together with your spouse, to ask me questions on asset protection, legal protection for your wealth. So what I normally tell them, I will first of all appreciate them that you still have this unity of purpose and understanding to have decided to meet a lawyer together. I will advise them most times, register a company. Two of you should register a company. Be the directors and the shareholder of the company. Allot a certain number of shares to yourselves based on your level of investment. Then buy your assets in the name of the company. This has saved a lot of people so many losses during divorce proceedings, because it's very simple for the court to determine how to distribute the wealth among them, especially in Nigeria, where you have to prove your contribution to a man's wealth or your contribution to a woman's wealth during the course of your marriage. Once you register that company in your name, just a name of a company, be the shareholder. You can even decide to make your children shareholders in the company. Buy every property in the name of the company. That is a very safe way of avoiding crisis as to how the properties will be liquidated during divorce proceedings. That is number one. Another way of...
Michael, I don't want to cut you short, but I don't want to sound morbid. I don't want to sound as if we're just planning this to for when divorce happens.
Okay.
I don't want to be misunderstood.
Yes, I understand it. So sometimes, just like Bimbo rightly said, there may be time you want to buy personal things. Are you getting the point?
Yes.
Personal things, yes. And you need money to do that. You have an investment somewhere, joint investment with your husband. If documentations are in place, you won't find it difficult accessing the fund. Sometimes you want to undertake some courses. You want to further your education as a spouse. Are you getting the point?
Yes.
You will not be trapped into the difficulties that people experience in accessing the fund if there are proper documentation in place. You want to acquire a property, you want to diversify your investment. You want to make further investment aside from the one you jointly own with your spouse. With proper documentation, you won't have difficulty assessing funds to make those extra investments. I don't know if I'm making sense in this regard. So,
yes, I'm listening. I'm writing.
Everything boils down to proper documentation. I normally tell people, see, leave all these gentleman agreements. Forget about the fact that this person is your friend or is your brother or is your... No. The right thing must be done, regardless of who is involved. We have seen children kill their parents. We have seen spouses kill their partner. So, let me say, okay, I had the tell some time ago. It was like, okay, I will tell you I said, no. Shut me up on WhatsApp. It was like, I don't trust me. I said, no. It's not a matter of trust. It's a matter of having a reference point. That is the essence of documentation. Let's have a reference point in case any of us forget. Our plans. Yes. So you need the same day that this man said I didn't trust. The same day. He was like, okay. He sent. I told him, I'm going to pay you next week. Immediately he left. He sent account number. I should pay immediately. I quickly went to the WhatsApp chat, pointed at it. Reference. The guy kept quiet. I didn't have that WhatsApp chat. It would have been his word against mine. So don't joke with documentation. Have everything in writing, regardless of who is involved, whether it's your son, your spouse, your cousin, whoever is involved. Have documentation all in place as a spouse. So I believe you may ask me questions as to general protection of wealth. Then, of course, I'm going to do justice to that. But for now, I just have to treat your question as it relates to protection of wealth jointly owned by spouses.
Yes. Now, I want you now to answer that other question, the next question you're going to talk about in terms of the wealth.
Okay. There is this mistake people normally make, especially in Africa. When they want to make investment, they don't involve a lawyer. Let me tell you, talking to a lawyer must be, I am very deliberate about the word, must be the first thing you will do before you take any step with respect to either wealth creation or wealth maintenance. You must involve a lawyer. Let me give an example. Let's say you have a particular company release a prospectus, for example, for the sale of their shares. And of course, you saw the shares on the stock exchange and you want to invest. You want to invest. You say, this share is very beautiful, this is very wonderful. You want to invest. No. Talk to a lawyer first. If you meet a lawyer, for example, and you ask me, I want to do this investment, please, what do I do? First of all, I will do what we call due diligence. Look at what I'm going to do. I'm going to write and make inquiry at the Corporate Affairs Commission to know the status of the company, whether they have a good record with the Corporate Affairs Commission. I'm going to go to the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, to look at how the compliance rate of that company with SEC. I'm going to conduct a search at FIRS. Let me know how much they are paying as tax. That will, to a long way, show you how much they're actually making as a profit. So there are a lot of things I will do. Are you getting the point? I'm going to make inquiries at land registries to know if these people actually own this land. For example, real estate firm, advertising sale of shares or whatever they want to do. I want to make sure that those, whether they even have any land they are running or operating as a real estate firm. So you don't make the mistake of rushing to make investment because the prospectus contains some attractive information. I get the point. A lawyer must be involved. If you omit to involve a lawyer in the beginning, you will pay more to a lawyer to recover your funds when the investment eventually collapses. We have examples of several of such investments in Nigeria. A company that was operating 30 years ago.
Mr. Michael, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, yeah. No, we can't hear you.
Your ear thing has been disconnected. We can't hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, please continue.
So imagine a company that was start or just started operation 2 years ago, who advertised a prospectus telling you that if you get 100,000, the next month you will get 200,000. It's not visible. Even banks can't do that. The question is, what business do they do? They will tell you into oil and gas. They don't have any oil well anywhere. They're not into oil prospectus anywhere. So it's not visible. Are you getting the point? For you to bring in 100,000 and then get 100,000 the next day, the next month. So these are mistakes people make. Just last year or last 2 years, we've had several of such businesses collapse here in Nigeria. And you see investors running to EFCC, running to lawyers and all that. And these are avoidable mistakes. It's not difficult to find out whether the company is healthy or not. If you want to discover the liquidity of a company, if you want to know if the assets of a company outweighs the liability of the company, it's very easy. Just engage a lawyer, you know what to do. No government agency under the Freedom of Information Act, no government agency.
Oh my gosh, there is a problem now. Michael, can you hear me? Okay. I think Michael is having difficulties. Bimbo, I want to ask you this question, and let's wait for Michael to come. How do we avoid unnecessary financial exposures?
Yes.
He's back.
Okay, Michael is back. Yeah. Okay, Michael.
Hello, are you with me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm here. And we can't see you. Where are you?
Sorry?
We can't. Okay, good. You're here. Yeah. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No government agency will conceal information about the company from a lawyer, because there are laws that mandate a government agency to release documents or information about a company. So never you make a mistake of making any investment without involving a lawyer. If it involves buying of properties, that is even the most complex one to do. That is even the most risky one to do. So don't even try that. If you want to buy a property, consult a lawyer. The lawyer will, first of all, if it's in Nigeria, for example, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Continue.
Yes. If it's in Nigeria, for example, the lawyer will, first of all, know whether the land is owned by a family. Because if the land is owned by a family, it's a different procedure altogether. You can't know that by yourself as a layman. The lawyer will find out if the company is owned by a corporate entity. Then you will need to discover whether the company has a resolution authorizing the board of directors to sell that property for the company. You can only find out that in the Corporate Affairs Commission, which a lawyer can do. When that is established, then the lawyer will also go to land registries. If it's in Abuja, a lawyer will go to the appropriate area council or AGs to discover whether this property is actually owned by this person. So these are things that you must do. You don't just pay. After paying, you now call a lawyer to prepare an agreement. That is very unsafe. In fact, let me tell you as a matter of fact, land litigation is the most long-lasting, time-consuming, money-consuming, dangerous, and very, 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 very complex litigation in Nigeria. Because anything that has to do with land in Africa is something else. In fact, it's even treated more seriously than human life. So I don't advise people to make any investments from the beginning before involving a lawyer. So generally, for you to protect your wealth, I advise people to write their will. If you don't write your will, you are exposing your wealth to people you would not ordinarily want them to access your money when you are alive. And don't forget, will is ambulatory. Will speaks after you are gone, or probably buried. So I advise clients to make sure they prepare their will and have it registered. This needs a lawyer. Another one is make insurance, have insurance. There are several insurance packages that you can have. Are you getting the point? This is a very, very reliable way of protecting your property. And before you do that, you need a lawyer to carry out investigation into the insurance company. There are some companies that are into insurance. They are very good at collecting your premium. As long as they are paying premium, they don't mind. But when it's time for them to indemnify you, when the risk you're actually insuring occurs, you start going to court with them. So a lawyer needs to find out the reputation of that insurance company as to payment of indemnity. What is the attitude of the company when the risk eventually occurs? But in any way, you have to have an insurance. Another way, you create a trust. For example, if you have a child, because if you're not up to 21 years in Nigeria, you don't have the capacity to own a land. As a parent, what do? You create a trust. You appoint a trustee, create an appropriate trust, register that trust with the appropriate government agency, so that the trustee will hold that property in trust for that your child. When the child attains majority, the property automatically translates to the child. We have what we call deed of release. The trustee will release the property. Peradventure, you, the creator of the trustee, is no longer, the trust is no longer alive. Are you getting the point? So try to create a trust. These are one of the ways. This is one of the ways you protect your property. Another way you protect your property is that, like I said, register a company. Buy your properties in the name of a company, because even if you are no more, the company still retains ownership of that property. Are you getting the point?
Yes.
Ownership of the property translates to the other shareholders. So family members cannot come and start dragging the property with you. Take, for example, you have a wife. Are you getting the point now?
Mm-hmm.
And you bought a property, you have a company jointly registered by you and your wife, and a property is bought in the name of that company. If anything happens to you, your family member cannot descend on your wife and start dragging the property, because the property is owned by the company, and your wife is a shareholder in the company. Are you getting my point? Okay,
but Michael, let me ask you this question, because I still need to ask Bimbo some questions. Yeah, but let me ask you this question. When people get married,
yes,
sometimes in the building stage, as they're getting married, the man is buying property. He doesn't really, you don't even think about all of those things. Really, people don't really think about them when they're young and the marriage is growing. So,
sorry, come again, please.
I said when.
Yes, I'm with you.
I said when people get married, realistically, a young family, and they start buying property, the man is young, the woman is young, they are just buying these properties, and most of the time it's the men that buy the property.
The network is very poor.
Okay, so most of the time it's the man that buys the property initially. They are young, they've heard about financial importance of building financial blocks, and so they begin to do that. So assuming, for example, the properties are already in the man's name, how is it possible then how can you transfer those properties into a company name? Or you just have to buy new sets of properties with a company name?
The network is a bit poor. Your line is cracking a little.
Really? Can you hear me now?
But I can hear you now, yes.
Okay, I said that, a lot of times in young families, right, when people first get married, they buy properties, the man is buying, the woman is, helping and all of that. Most people have bought properties in the first instance without buying them in the name of the company. So if somebody has a property or properties already, can they now, is there any way they can transfer those properties into the names of the companies?
Okay, let me come. For example, in law, there is nothing like Mr. and Mrs. For example, there is nothing like Mr. and Mrs. in law. People normally make the mistake, and most time, women fall victim of this, because at the initial time, they'll be buying properties in the name of the man or in the name of Mr. and Mrs., and they end up mentioning the name of the man at the end of the Mr. and Mrs. The truth is that property is actually owned by the man, in law. So the property cannot automatically translate into the company's property, except they have this understanding. If the person in whose name the property is bought refuses, you are helpless in law. If there is no documentation evidencing your involvement or your contribution, you are helpless in law.
Michael, can I ask you something? There are some times when, and women have said this, they give the money to the men to buy these properties, and without knowing, the men write their names without referencing that, without including their wives' names. So down the line, years later, the women discovered that even though she was giving the man the money, the man didn't include her name. It happens.
Abimbola, let me speak before Michael, Abimbola, because we don't have many more minutes.
Yeah.
That is where the shine your eye comment comes in, okay? So it shouldn't even happen in the first place, Abimbola. It should not happen.
But it's happened.
Yeah, but you know it's bad. So the purpose of this conversation this evening is to educate people on what is right. It should not happen. There's nothing you or Barrister Mike can do about that. He gave you the example of the Popular family, that if the man was a wicked man, then he would not acknowledge the contribution of his wife. Every one of us who is around this call, we understand, and what you're teaching and the purpose of this conversation this evening is that such mistakes should not happen. I have people that I mentor. There's no reason why you should give somebody money to go buy property for you and you don't check the documents. I'm worked up, Abimbola.
I know, I can sense it. I can sense it. But Bimbo, before we go, because we have a few more minutes, I'm sorry, I have to cut you short. What are some of the financial mistakes that we have to avoid? And I have another question, and I want you to answer both of them at once, and also talk about the building blocks of wealth creation quickly.
Okay, I'll try, Abimbola, but I'm still very passionate about that. So if there are people who have made such mistakes around the call, you must go and document your whatever assets you have asked that should be bought and they are fraudulently bought in another name. Anyway, maybe you will call us for another conversation.
I think I will. I think we should have.
To wealth creation, but what I teach my friends, I can call them followers, members of the Finance Coach BK community, my friends, my mentees, is that there are three things that are important for you to be able to create wealth. And I use the ESI model to teach it. People around the corner, some of them have heard it before. We must all learn to earn more. Abimbola, I spoke with you. You have more than one source of income, okay? I spoke with you earlier. So we must earn more. None of us around the call should be earning money from one source of income. The $10, the Dangotes, the under-rich people, even the footballers, they have multiple sources of income. So none of us, we cannot grow wealth from one source of income. Warren Buffett, we know how rich he is. He says nobody can grow wealth by building, by focusing on just one source of income. Now, we don't have much time. The second thing is savings. If you're around this call, you must be saving. No matter what you're earning, you must save money. You must save more. You can't take all of your salary from 1 month and put it into an investment. So you have to build your savings a little bit and then get the savings and then channel it into money market, capital market, or real estate, wherever you want to take it to. And then the third block of growing wealth is investing right. You must invest right. And what is the key to investing right? You must not invest in only one asset class. You must diversify your investment across markets. Make sure you're investing in the money market, in the capital market, in the real estate market, depending on what stage of life that you are in. Of course, we are all growing, and we'll continue to grow our wealth. So, and you must also make sure that you don't put all your eggs in the same basket. Okay, don't, because an estate is beautiful, say you want to buy 4 houses in the estate. Do you know how the foundation of the house of that estate is? Especially where builders are not controlled or supervised by government agencies well. So I think that's the answer to the building blocks. Money mistakes that people make. I come back to what Michael and I have been talking about earlier on, documentation. If you pay money to somebody to acquire an asset and you don't have a document in your name, and not just an ordinary document, legally accepted and recognized document. In some places, it's certificates of occupancy, some places deed of assignment. I don't know, Michael is the expert there. You must make sure that you have a document. If you transfer money to a vendor, you have just transferred money. If you transfer money and you don't have the documents of that property, either in your name or in the name of the person you want to buy it for, you have just transferred money. So documentation. Another mistake is giving up. None of us around the culture like Ibinabo was saying, I've sold houses, it's late stage, I can't grow wealth anymore. At every stage of life, we can grow wealth. So we must not give up, no matter what stage of life or whatever difficulties that we're facing today. Another thing is borrowing wrong. Borrowing in itself is not bad. You remember I talked about financial targets and financial plans. Part of your financial plan to grow your wealth, maybe to take a loan to do a business or to start a business or to even buy a property. How you use the borrowing is what matters. But don't borrow to go and do parties. Don't borrow to show off. So that's another mistake that people make. How much time do we have? And I know follow the crowd when you invest. Okay, we're all in different seasons of life. That's where Ibinabo started from. What Michael is focusing on right now is different from what I'm focusing on. What Ibinabo is focusing on is different from what Michael is focusing on. So don't follow the crowd. Invest according to what your own liquidity requirements and needs are. We've talked a lot about Akimigate. Akimigate is all about documentation. And honestly, I'm simplifying these things. My friend says, shine your eyes. If you have education, the financial education and all that Ibinabo is making us talk about this evening, and you still don't take action and you don't shine your eye, then you're wasting, you just wasted the knowledge and the advantage of
Thank you so much, Bimbo. You're so passionate about this. I think down the line, we may have to have a part 2. So I just want to say, listen, I want to thank everyone who's watched us today. You can follow me on my social media handles, Ibinabo Enabi, Facebook, Ibinabo Enabi, Instagram. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. As a matter of fact, please just subscribe now. It's Ibinabo Enabi. And so Bimbo, if there's anyone who is interested in getting to know you more and avail themselves of your services, how can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm Finance Coach Today on Instagram, Finance Coach Today on Instagram, and I have a website, www.financecoachbk.com.
What does BK stand for?
Abimbola Komolafe.
Oh my goodness gracious me.
You said boot camp earlier or something. I don't know what you said.
I thought it was boot camp, to be honest. I was like, boot camp spelled with a K. So yeah, Michael.
Yes, I'm with you.
Yes, you do. You offer free legal services. In what areas?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
In what areas?
What we do, I run an initiative called Free Legal Advice Zone. It's actually an initiative being powered by my law firm. Our aim is to educate the world on their rights and obligations under several laws, and also organize free law classes to people across the globe. So that is what Free Legal Advice Zone is all about. Fantastic.
And if anybody has heard you today and they are interested in following you up, how can they contact you?
If they want to contact me, they can get me on my Facebook page, Free Legal Advice Zone, Instagram, Free Legal Advice Zone, and of course, my personal Facebook account, Michael Meziobi Ogobuchi.
Perfect. And if they even come on my page, they will find you. They can click on you. Yeah. So listen, I want to click. Yeah. And
follow me on those pages. Yeah.
Fantastic. And please also follow me on my page, on my Facebook page, Ibinabo Enabi, profile Ibinabo Enabi, on Instagram, Ibinabo Enabi, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Ibinabo Enabi, for more valuetainment. And so listen, I want to thank everybody. Sorry. I want to thank everyone who's made it a point to be a part of this conversation. And I hope that after today's conversation, you have received a survival kit and a street light to help you to make the proper financial decisions. And you can check more episodes on my YouTube channel, Ibinabo Enabi, for various valuable information. And listen, guys, thank you very much. And thank you, everyone who's stayed tuned. I mean, you all stayed, and I'm delighted. So thank you very much. And Bimbo and Michael, I'll call you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ibinabo, and well done for all the work you're doing. Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks, everybody. Bye. Mwah, mwah, mwah.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
finance coach friends around the call. Thank you.
Bye,
all.
Mrs. Bimbo.
Thank you. I'll call you guys now. Yeah.
Bye, Binabo. Bye, Michael.
Thank you so much,
Bye, Bimbo. Bye,
Funke.
Bimbo.
Thank you.